right, picking up with part 2 of our best of series. If that other episode cut off abruptly, it might have had something to do with a camera filling up on memory or something like that, or maybe not. Maybe it was just a creative choice. Maybe it was a creative. Maybe it was a creative choice. Maybe it was a technical issue. But anyway, here we are back with number 2 of our best of series. And we're starting with Best Picture Drama. Oh, by the way, I'm Chris. This is
Mark.
There we go. So, Best Drama, all-time drama, separating it from action, separating it from other aspects. This is pure drama.
Yeah. Well, I go with Seven Samurai, 1954. Kurosawa directed this epic film. It's great. I know some people would say, well, isn't it more, they think, some people do put it in more action adventure. Really, as far as action goes, you don't really get much of that till like the third act. So I think it's more of an epic spectacle in the tradition of, it's a Japanese Ten Commandments or a Japanese Ben-Hur, if you will. But it's great. The relationships that are explored between the farming village and the 7 warriors that are there to help defend them against those thieving bandits. It's brilliant. It's layered. There's a lot of social underpinnings and commentary being made at the same time. There's a lot of texture and density to that whole film. Love it, love it, love it. I'll have more to say about it later.
Mine will be 2007, There Will Be Blood. It's number 6 on my top 10 list, I believe. I think it's number 6. Paul Thomas Anderson. Not the Resident Evil guy, but the other one. Paul Anderson, I'll just start there. I liked Boogie Nights a lot. I wasn't crazy about Magnolia. It kind of irritated me in a lot of ways, some parts of it. I kind of liked it, kind of didn't. It's one of those tweener movies. His movies, he was a filmmaker. I was kind of like, and I could take or leave, But then There Will Be Blood just blew me away. It came from left field. I know people will sort of look and shake their head and wince at me saying this, but it's on that Citizen Kane level of filmmaking, of a visionary film. The stakes are really high, visually impressive. Taking a giant character and following him through an arc of primalness to monetary physical success, but never losing touch with that primalness. But the main reason I love it is how detailed they got with the characters. All the characters are so vividly drawn and detailed. Where so the slightest things and mannerisms and word choices and stuff actually affect the story. It's an ethereal movie. I watch it. It's one of those movies that sort of exists. I'm watching it as a movie, but it's also I'm experiencing something. It has an ethereal feel to it with the shots and the music and whatnot. But it's one of those movies that I don't do a good job of justifying why I love it so much. I could go on and on about it, but there's a key moment in the movie where Eli is talking in the end to Daniel Plainview, and it's the famous milkshake scene that everybody falls in love with, the classic scene from the movie. But there's a moment where Eli says to Daniel, "You don't understand," and immediately sets off Daniel Plainview. He looks at him, and he can see his whole demeanor changes, and he gets razor sharp focus on Eli and says, "No, you don't understand it." And that's a real life thing. I don't know that other filmmakers would have picked up on such a small detail being such a major event. In real life, you can tell somebody something, and you can tell the smallest thing will set them off. Mm-hmm. And they get pissed off about it. But a lot of movies, they don't really do that. They'll just sort of brush over these things. You know what I mean? Where this movie picked up on the subtleties and the little idiosyncrasies and whatnot of these characters, and they pursued it. And it was part of the story. It feels like that time and place. It's just a great movie. I have no complaints about it whatsoever. I just love it. Just totally just draws me in every time I watch it.
It's a modern classic.
Yeah. Best Picture Fantasy. Oh boy, you explain.
Well, if we had this discussion earlier, if Star Wars wasn't viewed by the vast majority of people as a sci-fi film, I'd say Star Wars, obviously, because it's our favorite film. Most people think anything that takes place in space, that's sci-fi, and nothing I can do about that. So, with that technicality aside, then Lord of the Rings would then be my Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings would be my favorite fantasy.
Well, we're going to meld these two categories. There, I just had this idea. I literally had the idea while we're talking. Let's just meld the two categories here. So your favorite fantasy is Lord of the Rings. Explain why, or briefly.
We in more detail on that other vlog out there for our top 10 folks. You can check it out. But I would just say, to reiterate, you have this wonderful story once again of a character, kind of a homebody, and he gets a chance to be part of a greater adventure. I just love those kind of stories. You have the character of Frodo the Hobbit, and he ends up being a ring bearer. This is a very evil ring, and they basically engage in a 3-film keep away from this evil spirit that wants access to it, so he can basically rule the world. That's Lord of the Rings, kind of in a nutshell. But it's far more emotional and deeper than that. And you have characters who are absolutely changed by the adventure they have to go through, and the horrors that they see. They're real horrors they have to go through, and forever changed by this adventure. So I love the film, and I just think the achievement also that everyone involved. This was like masterful filmmaking. It's every bit the spectacle that Ben-Hur and Ten Commandments and Spartacus were back in the glory days of spectacles.
All right, I don't have a favorite fantasy movie of all time. I just don't. And we were debating this earlier. And I said, well, Star Wars can't be it. He said, no, it's sci-fi. And I'm like, well, I don't have one, man. I mean, Lord of the Rings is okay, but I ain't gonna call it my favorite ever. I just don't. It's not a genre I'm just not big on. Like Willow and Narnia and all these things, and it's not my thing, man. And so I said, well, then we got down to musical, and I said, well, Wizard of Oz, is that fantasy or musical? He said, well, it'll be both. So I guess technically my answer will be Wizard of Oz.
Right.
And I do love that movie, and one of my favorite scenes of all time
is
the lion running down the hall and jumping. I love that scene, by the way. And so my official answer, I guess, will be Wizard of Oz. But we'll just meld the two categories. So your favorite sci-fi movie, my favorite sci-fi movie, which should be in the fantasy deal too, is Star Wars, which we've already discussed.
Yes.
So your favorite sci-fi movie is?
Well, it'd still be Star Wars because that's what technically everyone knows it by. If I have to take that out of sci-fi, well, then it goes into fantasy, and so it'd be number one on fantasy. So
if you're scoring at home, favorite fantasy, Lord of the Rings series, Wizard of Oz. Unless you count Star Wars as fantasy, then it would be Star Wars for both of us.
Right.
But for sci-fi, it's Star Wars for both of us. So we kind of knocked out those two categories together. I hope that's clear as mud. All right. Foreign language film. Foreign language film. One more guess that it's Seven Samurai, since it was your favorite freaking drama.
Exactly. That's, again, I told you, we talking about it again. Seven Samurai, it's awesome, 1954. We've already talked about it, so just, I'll leave you more time to talk about yours.
Fellini's 8.5. It's been my favorite foreign film probably since I was a teenager. I've loved that movie since forever. Ethereal, visionary. It's got a plot, of course, but it's more about the feelings, and it's more about the emotions and the sequences and the dreamlike quality. I love the dreamlike aspect of it all. And yes, there is a plot, but it's so loosey goosey, and I love his obsession with women. I mean, it's a very honest movie about the obsession.
Well, when you say that the plot or a theme of that film is the fact that this guy he's got like a midlife crisis, and then it's dealt with by the director Fellini, in a very visually stunning way.
Yeah, I mean, he's going through a midlife crisis on one aspect. He's also got an artistic slump or a block or whatever.
Writer's block.
But you know, I have to be a little honest. I totally relate on the whole women aspect because in the character, he just loves all these women. And he just really loves all these women, and you know, I'm not there now. I'm not there now. I'm gonna be very clear on that. I'm not there now. I'm totally I'm past all that. But I've been through moments in my life where I'm so confounded and so confused. There's you have all these relationships that you see as all valuable. Mm-hmm. You're like, why can't I just love all people? I don't mean physically have sex with. I mean, I don't mean the sex thing. I'm talking about just. Why can't I just have this wild love affair with all these wide range of people and just why does it have to be all these choices and hard lines drawn and these kind of things? I've wrestled with that, and so it's a very honest movie in terms of his seeing he loves his wife, but he also loves this girl. I mean, he falls in love every 5 minutes in this movie. You know, it's all felt very honest to me. You know what I mean? It felt like a very honest feelings and emotions.
Sure, I get everything you're saying.
But within the context of a dream. Within the context of reality, too.
Yeah.
You know?
it gives the director a chance to kind of explore some things. And it is a great movie.
Yeah. Moving on to horror. Not my favorite genre. It's not my least liked genre, but it's not my favorite. I'm not a big horror guy. Not because I think they're scary, but just don't think they're very good in general.
Oh, am I going first?
Yeah, you're kind of taking the lead on all
right. The Shining, the Stanley Kubrick film. I know that Stephen King, of course, he wrote the novel.
Yeah.
It was a bestseller, and he wasn't thrilled with the changes that Kubrick made. But I can only judge with any piece of work, piece of art. Judge what is in front of you.
Yes.
And what is there is absolutely intriguing. It's almost like an unsolvable puzzle in many aspects of it, which is fascinating. And there's almost an economy of characters too. There's only you've got a family of 3, and they are the majority of what you see in the film, and all this stuff going on, and what is real? Is the Jack Torrance character seeing visions? Is he out of his mind? Is he schizophrenic? All of these questions are left for the viewer to kind of make up their own mind, and that's kind of what is special about that movie is it's enigmatic. It's what we don't know is what scares us, and that's what I think is really true horror. And I think Kubrick really was great at that. And so, how many horror movies can you say are actually epic? Very few. And The Shining is epic. And most horror films, unfortunately, are low budget fare that just kind of churn it out, and it's cheap thrills. So,
all right. Well, my answer would be in terms of a strict horror film, I'll say The Shining. But just because that's boring, because you just said it, I'm going to throw out my favorite zombie movie as a subgenre.
Oh, okay.
As a subgenre, my favorite zombie movie. Because I do like zombie movies. I don't like horror movies, but I like zombie movies. I can't explain why. I just do. I don't. All right. I'm not a fan of this, but the sub one I am. Don't get it. So I freaking like the one in the mall, Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead from the 70s, 78, I think.
1978.
I think that was a classic.
George Romero.
Epic zombie movie. It is the zombie movie, the end of all zombie movies. But I'll give a honorable mention to 28 Weeks Later, the sequel to 28 Days Later. 28 Weeks Later is one of those. What?
No, we've talked about it. I'm laughing because we've talked about this stuff before.
Well, I think that movie stands. It's one of those where the sequel surpasses the first. I really do truly believe that sequel was so punishing.
Yeah.
It was a brutal freaking. It was an exhausting, brutal freaking movie. Man.
Yeah.
And that scene where they're down there with the night vision on the scope, and that's all you can see by that girl's just the total terror. It works so effectively. So I know I just butchered this category.
No. The reason why I'm laughing is I know that when he says that about 28 weeks later, he ain't lying. He is absolutely, because I remember when y'all watched that, it wasn't just you. It was like,
a bunch of us.
Your family was. They also were just at the time they really liked it too. So I'm not surprised that you said that.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it's just an awesome movie. It's like it's one of those.
Because y'all were generally, there was a scene where they're like in a the subway or somewhere, and the lights go out, and y'all were generally like, we were breathless there when you didn't know what was going to jump out. So
it was awesome, man.
Yeah.
It was just a tense movie, and then like the helicopter scene, and like you really felt it was one of those few movies where you really felt everybody just fucked, and you saw no way out of it.
Yeah, that was So if I was amused, it's because I know that was an authentic answer, And so
but
there it
again,
is.
I know I butchered that, but I'm just not a big horror movie fan. And speaking of genres, I'm not a big fan of, and we'll just get it out of the way real fast. Best musical.
Wizard of Oz.
I recuse myself from this category because I hate freaking musicals. I notoriously hate musicals. I can't get 5-10 minutes into a musical without turning it off. I couldn't finish Frozen. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
I couldn't finish Frozen. I tried to watch Les Miserables with Wolverine and all them in it. I got maybe 10 minutes and I had to turn it off. I can't stomach musicals. Can't do it.
Well,
I'm genetically disposed not to like musicals.
If they're done right, then I don't care what the genre is. If it's good storytelling and if it's done right, I can get through it. But yeah, if a musical is off, it can get kind of brutal.
Well, for the sake of supplying an answer, what was the last? All right, just to fill in the paper. Let's finish up our best picture. This will be our last best picture before we move on to the next show. Our last best picture for this episode. The next one will be a part 3. It'll be more performance based. Best picture Western. What is your favorite or best Western of all time?
Well, I just love The Searchers. This is a great film. John Wayne gives one of the top performances, certainly of his career, if not all time, as Ethan Edwards, and he's a ex-Confederate soldier, and he's been out fighting Indians, and he's got all kinds of hate built up in him. This is a man who's been fighting wars of some kind for years. So he definitely, and this is incredible hoax, folks. It's real and authentic. He's been fighting one battle or another in his life, and the idea of just as his war comes to an end, and the whole plot is he has another reason to go on a mission and still continue his hate. It's fascinating. Check it out.
The Searchers also is my favorite Western of all time. I love the driven character of Ethan, John Wayne, and I love the redemption at the end. I totally kind of empathize with that aspect of not giving up when everybody else thinks it's absolutely crazy, and you just keep going at it no matter how crazy it sounds. I have been compared to Ethan before in my life by more than one person, of someone who will tenaciously, dogmatically go after something with just beyond all reasonable expectations. So I always related to Ethan on that level, the tenacity, and I love the movie. And to prove how good the movie is, when the kids were Arjun and Paula were little, well, not little, but they were young, quite a bit younger than they are now. They were pretty young, 10-ish range, 10, 12 range. We saw it at a theater. They had it in theater, and we went to go see it.
Yeah.
And at their young age, they loved it. Mm-hmm. And this is an old Western from the 50s. 1956, right?
1956.
1956 Western with John Wayne, John Ford, and these two kids in the 2000s loved this freaking movie. Yeah. That's a testament to how awesome the movie, how it transcends time, and it speaks to the characters are real. Ethan's a real dude. I mean, prejudice is real. I don't say I agree with it, but it's authentic and it's a real emotion. We get everything's so sanitized these days, and characters are supposed to feel one way only. And this is a movie that was like, okay, I don't necessarily agree with the hatred, but it's real. I mean, people really felt this way. It's like
but he goes on a story arc. You know?
Yeah, he goes on a story
character arc there.
Yeah.
You know, he starts off with the hate, and I won't spoil it in the end. But
it's like There Will Be Blood that we talked about earlier. It's you'll agree with the characters' decisions. You'll agree where their life went.
Right.
But it's real. It feels genuine.
Yeah.
You know.
We almost learn more by people making mistakes and doing those than we do someone doing everything right.
These sanitized movies, the reason they're forgettable is because they're so sanitized. I could go on a whole thing about that. But
well, there's a reason why Shakespeare's tragedies are more known than his comedies.
There you go.
We learn more from tragedies, folks.
And it's a reason why the original trilogy is more well thought of than the prequels. You need a little grit. You need a little bit of authenticity.
Yeah.
To make it work.
You gotta have it.
Got a little bit of something. You need a little bit of homemadeness.
Have a little edge.
A little edge to it.
Yeah.
And this movie, it just has that. And it's still...
And John Wayne had extra motivation because he was coming off the worst film of his whole career, The Conqueror.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So can you imagine going from the worst moment of his career and then his career-defining moment?
Well, it's
awesome.
It's an amazing movie. And it's one of those movies I can't imagine to the day I die ever being a Western better than it for me. Honestly, it's kind of like Star Wars. Nothing can ever recapture what it is to me.
And I love Shane.
RoboCop too, by the way.
You know, I'm a huge fan of Shane, the movie. I love the movie Shane. But I will tell you, Searchers is the better film.
I love Tombstone. And I'm sure a lot of people out there are raging which would we say Tombstone. And Tombstone's a wonderful movie. It's a great movie. It's on my top 3 Westerns of all time, I'm sure. But
yeah, it's wonderful.
Searchers for me holds that place, and I can't imagine it ever being replaced. I can't imagine it. All right. So stay tuned for more of the best of / favorite films and actors and everything else.